Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is KOKO, and I'll be your host today. As the CEO of Motlanalo, I feel extremely honored that all of you spared us 90 minutes from your demanding work schedules today to join us celebrate Motlanalo's 4th anniversary. Your presence here makes this milestone especially meaningful to me, to our directors and the entire Motlanalo team. In association with Higher Digital Network and RMB Private Banking, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this webcast on A Voice from the Boardroom on ethics, corporate governance, and people. We are extremely proud to present our esteemed panel of speakers who are well-known and highly respected business and public sector leaders who have agreed to give so generously of their time to provide their insights and perspectives on these topics. I was born and raised in a village in Limpopo at Sekhukhune, in a village called Ramaloma. It was here that my parents taught me that education was the path to freedom, especially for women. I've always held on to this life truth. And at Motlanalo, this is an integral part of who we are. We believe in building for the future. When Motlanalo was founded 4 years ago, the focus was on creating an audit firm that contributes to the development of professionals and auditors of our land and beyond through teaching and by creating, nurturing, and empowering environment for future auditors and accountants, especially those who may not have the opportunity to serve articles in the Big Four audit environment. As Motlanalo continues to grow steadily, our vision has not waned. In fact, we are more confident than ever that there is a room in the market for an emerging firm such as ours, and that our people have an important role to play in contributing to South Africa's economy. We want to share our future with smart, young, talented, and diverse people who embrace our 4 values of respect, understanding, trust, and accountability, which means Ruta, Insipedi is to teach. But why today? Today's event is an extension of our desire to learn and to teach. If you had told me 4 years ago that we'll be here with you, it would have been hard for me to visualize that we will have already produced our first qualified chartered accountant. And yet, in 2020, this became a reality. We are deeply committed to everyone who has played a role in helping us take the big and the bold steps, as well as the many small but important steps, towards our being a serious role player in our country's business landscape. This extends to our directors, Nita and Thomas, and Motlanalo staff. The story and journey of Motlanalo started in April 2017 in Polokwane through the acquisition of PricewaterhouseCoopers offices through their Enterprise Development Program. We remain grateful to PwC for giving us a jump start with world-class infrastructure. 4 years later, we are a level 1 BBBE firm, majority women and Black-owned audit practice, and we have offices in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Gauteng. And this year, in January, we went to Mother City in the Western Cape. At the back of our growth journey is our partnership with EY and being on the Auditor-General South Africa contract work. They both have been key supporters in the Motlanalo story. 7 December 2018, EY South Africa announced their partnership with us, aimed at enabling EY to leverage Motlanalo's skills and knowledge and giving Motlanalo's access to EY's global network of resources, integrated teams, and auditing expertise. This partnership was the opportunity we've been waiting for. With EY support, we are now accessing markets that on our own will be difficult to access, empowering our staff by growing their skill set and exposing them to different auditing and complex environments. Today, our staff are exposed to banking, insurance, telco, and logistics clients. This partnership affords our people access to unrivaled growth and learning opportunities, and we are grateful to EY. Thank you very much, AJEN, for this ongoing commitment to our success. Nearly 50% of our revenue comes from the Auditor-General South Africa. Beyond this, we are on the AGSA Enterprise Development Program, which has been integral to our growth. I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the AGSA STRAP team under the leadership of Bongani Habile for the guidance, mentorship, and coaching they continue to provide to our young practice. Ladies and gentlemen, these partnerships and initiatives by both AGSA, EY, and PwC to small firms such as Motlanalo is evidence that together we can transform the audit profession in our lifetimes. Of course, most of you in this webcast are our clients or part of our business network and ecosystem. Today is about recognizing, celebrating, and appreciating you, our clients, the staff of Motlanalo, and our directors. It is about celebrating our 4 offices, 4 years of being in business, and during the 4th month being the Freedom Month in South Africa, our country. I want to thank our clients for their unwavering support. I also want to thank our staff for choosing Motlanalo. Today's event has been made possible with the support from RMB Private Banking and Higher Digital Network. Motlanalo has been a member of Higher Network since our earliest days. And through this network, we have benefited from both wise counsel and capacity for our team from the specialists in the network. Thank you very much, Viv. At this point, I would like to welcome Kes Kuvadia, the CEO of Business Unity South Africa, who has graciously agreed to facilitate our webcast. Kes is one of South Africa's most well-known business leaders, and in his current role at BUSA, he is at the epicenter of public policy and business. Kes, we are greatly honored to have you here today, and I hand the floor over to you. Enjoy the session, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, thank you for joining Motlanalo's anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you very much, KOKO, and it gives me great pleasure to join this event and to facilitate the session. And I hope that we have a useful session and an active session, and we encourage participants as well as the audience to be active and to ask questions, and we will try to accommodate as many questions as we can. Our first session is to set the scene on ethics, sustainability, and governance, and the foundations of sustainability. And we will have a 10-minute address from Mr. AJEN SITA, CEO of EY Africa, who will set the scene for us, and then we will continue with the rest of the program. So without further ado, AJEN, why don't you come in? Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you, Kaz. It's really fantastic to get this opportunity to share this occasion with all of you. And my sincere congratulations to KOKO and the entire Motlanalo team. EY is really proud of our history and our association with you. So I've been asked to talk about this topic of ethics, and I think it's safe to say that the COVID pandemic has brought, has shone a sharp light on this lack of ethics that we see globally. The world today is struggling with questions about an equitable model of global trade. We see inequity in vaccine distribution. We've got social equity challenges playing out right across the world. And fair to say, there's just a general lack of trust in both governments as well as large companies around the world. So the question is, what is this ethics challenge that the world is struggling with? For me, the heart of this is really about simply doing the right thing. All actions boil down to 2 types. They're either selfish, which is motivated by greed and self-interest, or actions that are unselfish, serving a greater good, or what we call the public interest. Now, our audit profession has not been spared from this. to address the challenges of audit and accounting, what we need to do is actually start by understanding who the various role players and actors are. And in our context, there really are three actors in the market. They're the audit firms themselves, the corporate sector, as well as the public at large. When we look at the firms, what they really should be doing is focused on what we would call sustainable assurance services and demonstrating the social value that they provide. When you look at the market, it should be making sure that they're providing confidence in their businesses and the numbers that they're reporting, that the market sees fewer surprises, and frankly, the market's looking for less volatility than we see today. The public at large, of course, want to be sure that the balance of multiple stakeholders are being addressed and that there's accountability when we see failure. And this question of accountability is even characterized by songs about wanting to see people in orange overalls, as we all well know. Now, if we understand, the actors in the market, what I think has been missing is a real conversation around what are the various expectations, because I don't think we've done enough to ensure that these expectations are aligned. So if you look at the audit firms in this context and their role with the market, corporate sector, what the market is looking for is really more useful insights on performance of companies, on their strengths, on the risks in those businesses. Today, corporate reporting has become so complex that, truth be told, I'm not sure that many even understand what those financials are saying. Then you look at the relationship between those companies or the marketplace and the public at large. And the public at large, or the investing community, the industry, they're looking for fewer corporate failures. And this has been missing for some time now. And then naturally, when you look at the public at large, they're also got expectations of the profession, our profession. And that's a clear understanding of the roles that are played by the various market participants. And I think more needs to be obviously done in this space. Now, over the last 5 years, there have been big questions asked about our profession, questions around audit quality, independence, our role in state capture, the role of auditors in discovering fraud, and of course, questions about market concentration of the large firms, transformation. And it's fair to say that we've observed how the reputation of the profession has been decimated over the last 5 years. And I think the genesis of our relationship with Motlanalo comes from actually making some of these observations. We observed right through the state capture era that the largest black firms in our professions frankly disappeared from the market. And those that remained were wholly, in fact, dependent on work from the government, from the state. And we have had no credible player serving the private sector. So through I think our common purpose of wanting to build a better working world, KOKO and I think quickly reached agreement for EY to support Motlanalo with methodology and technology, technical training or practice management skills. And I think most importantly actually was about access to the market. So today we jointly serve some of the largest companies in Africa, and these include ABSA, Nedbank, Momentum, Barloworld, recently Aspen, and so much more, and I have no doubt more to come. So we're also no doubt are building a future competitor for ourselves, but we're actually proud of this. And I really want to encourage other corporate and professions to follow a similar path. Ours is a non-exclusive relationship with Motlanalo. So what we really want to do is just play our part in building a high-quality asset for our country. So with that, KOKO and the Motlanalo team, once again, my congratulations to all of you. You've got through startup businesses in the first 4 or 5 years is the toughest period in the lifespan of a business. You've got through it and with the COVID pandemic. And so I think you're off to a great start, and I want to wish you all of the best in the future, and you can look forward to the EY relationship as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, AJEN. We're going to play a short video now before I introduce the next speaker.
Hi, KOKO and team. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Motlanalo on your 4-year anniversary. It feels like yesterday when we entered into our strategic partnership with Motlanalo, and I can count many successes that we've seen in the last 2 years. We're really proud as EY to be part of your journey of growth, and we wish you all the best and wish that you grow from strength to strength. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Auditor-General of South Africa, Ms. TSAKANI MALULEKE. TSAKANI is relatively new to her position, and we've already had some interaction with her at BUSA, and she will speak to us on corporate governance and accountability, and will also join a panel later where we will begin to unpack some of these issues. So TSAKANI, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you. You've really begun to excel in your new position, and we look forward to continue working with you and look forward to your thoughts on this very important topic now. All yours.
Thank you very much, Cass, for that kind introduction. I'm so pleased to be part of this panel today. Indeed, whilst I welcome the opportunity to share some insights, I'm particularly excited by the possibility of gaining some wisdom from the esteemed members of this panel. Like AJEN, I'd like to start off by conveying my heartfelt congratulations to KOKO and the Motlanalo team. On behalf of Team AGSA, KOKO and your team, this occasion of your 4th anniversary is one that is well worth celebrating. 4 years in business is an important milestone in the journey of building a sustainable business. And for you, this period included 2020, a year of the most unprecedented challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. And that you and your team are still here demonstrates a particular brand of resilience, which I have no doubt will stand you in great stead in the coming months and years and decades to come. Yours has been an impressive and inspirational journey indeed as a firm. And from the AGSA, we're so pleased that we were with you when you were starting out. We're pleased that we could make our small contribution to your development through you participating in our enterprise and supply development program. We're honored to have been able to walk alongside you, to hold your hands as you traversed a difficult journey, and we want to share in your success this year and in the years ahead. At the AGSA, we aim to lead by example by doing the very same things that we expect of other corporate citizens. We hold ourselves to the high standards on corporate governance, and amongst these standards is the imperative to comply with the legislation relating to BBBE. And through our ESD program, we nurture small audit firms and support them to overcome the barriers to their entry into the mainstream activities within the audit profession. And we're delighted that our own project of ESD has started to bear the transformational fruits for which we set it up. For example, the program has grown from its humble beginnings, where we incubated just 2 firms back in 2015. And now we are able to boast that we've got 27 firms that participate in the program, benefit from the program, and they've been able to not only participate through the allocation of our outsourced work, now they take up 10% of our outsourced work. They've been able to grow their presence, regional presence, through many more offices across the country, and they've been able to create jobs in the process. KOKO, when you invited me to form part of today's important event, I gladly accepted, largely because I so believe that the conversation that you have carefully curated today is just so relevant at this time in our country. The topic invites us to examine, I believe, not just the theory about accountability and good corporate governance, but it invites us to dig a little bit deeper and ask ourselves the question of what role we as professionals in our different fields are playing to help build our country and to deliver on the aspirations of citizens. The question is, are we as professionals playing a proactive role in creating a better country, one that aims to improve the lives of citizens by deliberately driving development that is inclusive and that is sustainable? Accountant that I am, I tend to locate my own inquiry within the accountancy and auditing profession. However, I believe that the same questions arise for all professionals across different disciplines. As professionals, we're shaped by our societies. We, from an early age, are raised by our villages or communities, and it is these same communities that directly or indirectly invest in our enlightenment through education. Society's expectation from us is that once we've acquired the necessary skills within our chosen professions, that we show up to add value to the project of development and of improving lives. We add value through our skills, but also through the posture that we choose to adopt as we conduct our work. It is professionals that end up as the leaders charged with responsibility of running many institutions in the private sector and the public sector. Institutions which are designed to play a major role in shaping the direction of our country's economy and development. As we reflect on our world today, and I know AJEN touched on these things, that the global COVID-19 pandemic has increased the levels of income inequality, gender inequality, unequal access to healthcare services, and life-saving vaccines. In this context, a few critical questions confront us. Do we choose to adopt a posture of service and value add, or rather one of personal accumulation and extraction? Do we measure our personal success by how much value we've been able to extract for ourselves and our families? Or do we measure our success by the contribution that we make? Contributions to our professions, to other people, to institutions, and indeed to society. As professionals, have we embraced a commitment to technical excellence purely for its own sake? Or are we rather seized with finding ways to use our technical expertise to serve society and to make our own contribution to improving the work, to improving the lives of citizens? Do we stand up to advocate for the right things in our societies, thus driving ethical practices, service delivery, accountability, and ensuring that our voices improve the lot of the voiceless in practical ways? When we do stand up and advocate for these right things, do we also hold ourselves to the same standards? Do we walk the talk? A reading of our latest audit report on the provincial and national government audits for financial year ended 2020, that report provides some insight, which confirms that we have much work to do. We audited 1.7 trillion rand of the expenditure budget, covering national and provincial departments, public entities, and state-owned entities. And you would have seen, we reported very few clean audits, representing only 17% of the expenditure budget. Put it differently, 17% of your expenditure budget is being managed by entities that deliver credible financial, useful and reliable performance information, and demonstrate that they've got the type of disciplines internally to comply on a consistent basis with key laws and regulations. whilst we reported that 74% of institutions were able to at least submit financials that we could ultimately confirm as being credible, we did say that at the beginning of an audit, only 49% of auditees had credible financial statements, which tells you that there is still a number of weaknesses in the course of generating credible financial, managing financial resources in a consistent way. And all of this has contributed to the financial health risks that are troubling state-owned entities, public entities, and key service delivery departments, specifically in the education and health arena. We talk a lot about non-compliance, especially on procurement findings, and this led to irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Now, it's very easy for us to give in to the temptation of locating these audit outcomes as something that paints a picture of how government is being managed, and that it is different and distant from ourselves if we are not public servants and if we are not charged with the responsibility of running government. It's very tempting to do that. I would humbly invite us to resist that temptation and really ponder what the role of professionals and leaders of institutions in the private sector has been in contributing to these outcomes. If we talk about supply chain management findings, there are a number of private sector people on the other side of the transaction. So if there are private sector institutions that benefit from non-competitive bidding processes, that benefit from ongoing contract extensions beyond what is allowable in law, where private sector entities benefit from procurement processes that flout regulations around local content, where we end up with private sector companies benefiting from contracts issued to them where the preferential procurement system has not been complied with, which system is meant to achieve the balance between cost effectiveness and transformation on the other hand. These entities, these private sector entities that, yes, are not responsible for running government, are the beneficiaries of these weaknesses in government. And one's got to ask, if we are the leaders of these entities in the private sector, if we are the professionals that advise, that work with, that benefit from the commercial gains of these private sector entities, are we walking the talk? Are we holding ourselves accountable to the highest standards of governance, corporate governance, and ethical practices? If we are the same professionals that continue to consult within government, having benefited from a procurement process that's faulty and don't deliver value, and there are many examples of this, are we operating in a way that's looking to add value and improve lives? Or are we operating in a manner that's really about personal wealth accumulation and therefore extraction? And I want to end my input there with this humble plea to say, when the Auditor-General issues these reports and there is discourse in the public domain about accountability failures in government, let's not give in to the temptation of pointing a finger, of joining the chorus that laments and criticizes. Let's reflect about our own role in it, because if the role of professionals and leaders in business and in the professions is about delivering value into society, we need to figure out how we close the gap between that expectation and the reality that these reports continue to raise. So I leave you with the same question, that what role are we as professionals playing to actively contribute to the world we want, the South Africa we want? And I ask you humbly to ponder on these and hopefully to make different choices. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And once again, congratulations to Motlanalo, and I look forward to the panel discussion later. I hand back to you, Kaz. Thank you.
again has
Kaz, you are on mute.
Sorry. Sakane, thank you very much for your thoughts. Undoubtedly shows the critical dynamic between the public and private sector and how behaviors in both actually impact on society. And I think that this is a good segue into Busi's talk on ethical leadership. Busi, as the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, is in an excellent position, given that BLSA represents over 100 of the top corporates in the country. He's in an excellent position to talk about ethical leadership, and particularly also ethical leadership and the need for ethical leadership in business. So Busi, I'm going to go straight to you for your input and your thoughts on this topic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think just like everyone, let me start by congratulating KOKO and by extension Motlanalo Incorporated for the significant milestone of the 4th year anniversary that they are celebrating today. I must say that the fact that in the 4 short years, KOKO, you have managed to build Motlanalo into this formidable entity with presence in 4 provinces really comes as no surprise to me, because I've been fortunate enough to observe firsthand your discipline, your diligence, your high standard, your rigor, and your thoroughness that you sought to impart in thousands of us at the PMF. And I remain eternally grateful that today I stand tall because I stand on the shoulders of a giant like yourself through your grooming and through your coaching. So congratulations for your critical milestone. And thank you very much for the invitation for me to come and share my thoughts on this critical topic, a topic that is very key in South Africa today, especially in the context of where we find ourselves, where we are confronted with deep moral decay and generation. Ethical leadership, and that is the subset of the topic that I've been asked to address here today, is a very thorny topic, especially in an environment where, as leaders, both government and business alike, we have been found wanting on this aspect. The character Fraser Crane in the sitcom Frasier, which is played by Kelsey Grammer, once declared that ethics is what we do when no one is watching. Ethics is what we do when no one is watching. And I think I'm yet to find a more precise definition. But I must say that I like how AJEN puts it even more simply. He says ethics is about doing the right thing, and I think that is the long and short of it. You see, ethical leadership matters because when it comes to values, which are your true north, it therefore means that with ethical leadership comes values, and these values become your true north. And when you are faced with difficult situations and in ethical dilemmas, you always turn to your true north. And maybe let me locate this discussion in our context just to demonstrate why it matters. You see, an ethical crisis is what has sunk our country into this dark hole that we find ourselves in. And to put this into perspective, I want to draw your attention to where we started our week this week. And I don't know how many of you saw it, but I definitely noticed it. And I must say that it sent shivers down my spine. Most of you would have seen a very disturbing call at the beginning of the week by one of the political party leaders. And I'm not sure how widespread this was. And this, of course, is neither here nor there. I think the fact that this is even a consideration should really worry us as South Africans. And I'm talking about a call for the government to step down because of the disarray that is happening within the ruling party. There was a call that was made at the beginning of the week for the ANC executive to step down to allow an interim government to take over because of the debilitating impact that the party in fighting is having on the economy. I don't know about you, but I certainly have never seen nor heard anywhere a government being called to step down. And the disarray that is happening, because of the disarray that is happening, because those that are responsible for our economic collapse and demise, those who have been stealing unashamedly for the past 10 years, are refusing to step aside and are refusing to step down. And they are saying that should you dare make a move on us, we will shut the country down. And I think when we're talking about ethics this morning, my question is, where are ethics in that context? I think let us agree that we are where we are as a country because we have a serious leadership void, not just a leadership void, but an ethical leadership void in this country. Because you see, leadership would not suffocate its country. Ethical leadership would definitely not suffocate its country. Leadership would put the country and its people first. Leadership would know when to hold on and when to let go. When leadership would definitely respect those that have put them in power, and walking away from power and from leadership should be easy as how you came into it. And I think that is an obligation that you have as a leader. You see, it all starts with ethical leadership. Those who lead are expected by society to behave in the greater good for those that they lead. Respect, integrity, and moral judgment about right and wrong indicate ethical leadership. It's not just about lawfulness, but it is about moral judgment. And please make no mistake, colleagues, I'm not talking politics, I'm talking leadership. Not just leadership, but ethical leadership. Actually, inherent in leadership is ethics, because leadership is about three things and three things only. It is about vision, it is about courage, and it is about ethics. So actually the term ethical leadership is tautologous, because not only, because inherent in leadership is ethics. So not only does South Africa lack leadership, but we lack ethical leadership. So let's agree that South Africa is what it is because its leaders are not what they ought to be. And let us be clear, colleagues, that by our own admission as business, we are not innocent in all of this. And I think AJEN touched on this topic. In the recent past, unfortunately, as business, we have been faced with a series of governance breaches and ethical violations in many private sector companies. The trust deficit that exists between business and society is precisely because as business, we have for the most part taken the approach of staying out of the socio-economic sphere and focusing narrowly on the business side of business. And unfortunately, there are far too few firms who would do what EY has done in deliberately and intentionally setting up Motlanalo for success through ensuring that they grant them access to markets through their network. You see, it cannot be ethical leadership if as business, we continue to be an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty, especially after COVID has exposed just how fractured our democracy is and just how unequal we are as a society. And after the COVID devastation, the deprivation of so many South Africans have been intensified. So as business, we need to be asking the question of how does business contribute more to the socio-economic transformation agenda of this country? Because if we don't, I don't know if that is ethical leadership. The world is currently strongly driving this notion of conscious capitalism and stakeholder capitalism and purposeful businesses. And this becomes more important if you are sitting in the most unequal society in the world, the way we find ourselves in that position as South Africa, where unemployment, as per the latest stats, is sitting at 43% in terms of the expanded definition, where you have more people that are unemployed than those that are employed in all the provinces except Gauteng and the Western Cape, where poverty levels are sitting at 56% and youth unemployment is sitting at 57%. And I'm sure that these numbers are made worse now, by the devastation of COVID. So you see, such social injustice should be businesses' crisis as much as it is government's crisis. And yes, state capital ought to behave rather differently because it has more responsibility. But let us be clear that this does not absolve us as business. You see, we cannot look at what government is doing as business and think that because government is not showing up in the way and in the manner that they should be showing up, then as business, we remain absorbed. Because if we were to use government as a barometer, then we would be setting the bar way too low. This that is happening in South Africa today is our crisis, because as a grouping that has levers to economic power, business has a special responsibility to work firmly towards this agenda, because some things are bigger than self-interest and they are bigger than the profit motive. And those are issues of national interest. And these need to be elevated above all, and it cannot just be left to government, because unfortunately for us as a country, government's failure is going to be South Africa's failure, and South Africa's failure is going to be business's failure. And you know what they say, show me a failed state and I'll show you a failed nation. So if government fails, then unfortunately, as South Africa and as business, we are going to fail as well. So during this time in our country, ethical leadership is what is missing, and it is what is required. And as leaders, we find ourselves at a time where we don't have a choice about declaring the values that we hold dear and about making a vocal stand. We find ourselves where fence sitting is no longer an option, and being ethical, visibly so, is mandatory. Ethical leadership is what will change our economic misfortunes as a country. It cannot be right that on the corruption index, South Africa sits on a rating below 50. According to the Transparency International Index, we continue to trend weaker and weaker, consistently rating below 50, the line between mostly corrupt and mostly not corrupt. Being in an environment where globally liquidity and funding is largely constrained because of the economic crisis means that as a country, we are competing for capital with other emerging markets, and corruption is certainly not what we want to be known for as a country. I can never forget that when we got the 70 billion loan from the IMF last year, the concern by local and international interests was that we hope it will not be stolen. And I think if that is not indictment enough for us as leaders in this country, I don't know what would be. Investors tend to avoid corrupt countries because they cannot be sure of the stability of the environment and their rights over the long term. But they just also fear the public perceptions of being caught up in corruption and the legal consequences, that will actually come about as a result of dealing with a corrupt country. So I think let's agree as a country that one of the things that will propel South Africa to be where it needs to be is ethical leadership, because with it comes sound policy decisions. And with sound policy decisions, then our negative sentiment will change to a positive sentiment. And with positive sentiment, business confidence will increase. And with business confidence increasing, then that will result in investment. And investment will translate into economic growth. And once our economy grows, then jobs will be the natural outcome. But as I said earlier, it all starts with ethical leadership. Thank you very much, Cass.
Thank you, Busi. Thank you. Thank you. Before I call on KGANKI, we're going to have a short video from PwC.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to this wonderful occasion. 4 years ago, PwC South Africa, under the guidance of our former Chief Operating Officer Fulvio Tonelli, signed an empowerment deal with Dawn Chartered Accountants and Auditors Incorporated, in terms of which Dawn acquired PwC's business based in Polokwane. From 1 April 2017, Dawn operated from PwC's former offices in Polokwane as Motlanalo Chartered Accountants and Auditors Incorporated, with KHUMALO at the helm. This exciting empowerment deal was one of the first of its kind in the professional services landscape, and underpinned and confirmed PwC's commitment to promoting the empowerment of Black professionals, Black firms and Black women, and the transformation of the profession. The deal was overseen by my predecessor and PwC's current Africa CEO, Dion Shango, but I've known KOKO for many years, working side by side with her in her various roles at PwC as a former PwC partner and member of PwC's governing board and our Southern Africa Executive Committee. In fact, KOKO was the first female at PwC to be appointed to the Southern Africa Expo, paving the way for those who have come after her. It has been so gratifying to observe how Motlanalo Incorporated, as a proudly majority African Black women-owned South African audit, accounting and professional services firm, has grown to its current stature in just 4 years. KOKO, your focus on the advancement of people, particularly Black women, is something that is very near to my own heart, and something for which PwC has always been a strong advocate. I'm so proud to see you continuing the tradition of empowerment, transformation and gender equality. And I'm proud that PwC was able to play a role in your journey to where you are today. A proud, successful businesswoman making a true impact. On behalf of PwC, I would like to congratulate you on your journey thus far and look forward to seeing Motlanalo Chartered Accountants and Auditors Incorporated rising to even greater heights. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, PwC. Let me introduce KGANKI MATABANE, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Black Business Council. And KGANKI is going to talk to us about growth and empowerment, inclusivity and diversity. KGANKI, all yours. If you could keep to the 5 minutes, please, I'd appreciate, so that we have some time for the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cass, Program Director. In our language, we always say all protocol observed. Good morning, everyone. And thank you very much, Motlanalo, for inviting myself as the Black Business Council. We are very proud that you are celebrating this milestone, and we support the celebrations. And we'd like to congratulate you specifically, KOKO, and the entire team at Motlanalo on your 4th anniversary. For those of us who are married or who have been married, we know that 4 years can be a long time. So if you've passed the 4 years, it means you've done extremely well. And we are, as the Black Business Council, we're even more delighted because the firm Motlanalo is majority owned by a Black woman. And we want you to continue to promote and create opportunities for other Black people and other Black women. Your story is a pioneering one, and it's a good story to tell. And we need more of these stories, especially now after most of the businesses were devastated by COVID. When the Broad-Based Economic Empowerment Act was enacted, some of the objectives of the BE Act was to promote the economic participation of Black people, because Black people have been and were systematically excluded from participating in economic activities. And then that also talks to the growth strategy. It's a growth strategy because it enables the people of South Africa, all of them, to be utilized in the production of the South African economy. So it's important that we all embrace it, and then embracing it fits well in with the Black Business Council's mission of ensuring that there are policies in the country that are implemented properly, that will make sure that the majority of people who happen to be Black participate in the mainstream economy. And I think it's important to emphasize mainstream because we are not advocating for the majority to be in the periphery of the economy. So that I think is important. And these policies, we were of the view that if they are implemented properly and they're implemented sincerely, without actually sticking to the ticking of boxes, where you are saying, if I put the Black woman there, I'll get 1 point, 1 BE point. If I put the person with disability there, I get a point. We will actually implement what is called the spirit of the economic transformation legislations. And then that talks to the actual implementation that says, ultimately, the economy should look and should be run by the majority of the people of the country. And then that talks to what the president, at some stage, President Ramaphosa said, that if you've got a 5-cylinder car and you are continuously utilizing only 1 cylinder, you are going to kill the car. So we are calling for all of us to say, let's implement the spirit, and that way we'll be utilizing all the human resources in the country. We need to come to a time where Black businesses are not emerging anymore. They are proper businesses, they are proper big businesses that are part of the big 5 or big 6 or big 7. And we would like to thank PwC and EY for opening the markets and then giving Motlanalo the opportunity to ensure that we deal with the market domination of a few firms. And if you may be aware, some of the Black firms were sort of disadvantaged by being removed due to association with the state capture. And which talks to what Busi was saying. We need to make sure that Motlanalo is run through proper corporate governance and then proper ethics. So I had a discussion with one of the leaders in 2000 and 2001, when Black accounting firms were actually merging with white ones. And I actually asked him, what is the reason for this? And he said, one of the reasons is that small firms and Black firms are not able to acquire businesses, especially complicated businesses in the private sector, and that then makes the trainees to be unable to participate in big audits and when complicated audits, and then hence they were merging into one of the big firms. And I think what Motlanalo is doing is try to resolve that issue 20 years later, thanks to EY, because the trainees at Motlanalo are able to audit big telcos and big financial services because of the opportunity provided by EY. And I think if we can adopt this as a model going forward in all the professions, it will basically assist and make sure that small firms are able to provide opportunities for both disadvantaged and then kids who are bright, who could have chosen to go to big firms, but at least by choosing small firms and black firms, they are going to be exposed to the same opportunities that someone who goes to a big firm gets exposed to. So in conclusion, we would like to wish Motlanalo well over the next few years, and we hope you will be celebrating 100 years very soon, and you should be able to be one of the biggest accounting firms in the African continent, and also take advantage of the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement, where you can then walk a lot of other other companies from South Africa and assist them as they go into the African market. Thank you very much, and congratulations once more.
Thank you very much, Hanki. Before we go into the panel, can I encourage people to put questions onto the chat? I will try to manage the panel in a way that I also refer to some of the questions on the chat, and we'll try to get through as many of the questions as possible. But if we can't, I'm hoping that the organizers will try to respond to those questions at some point in time. I'd like the panelists to please put on your videos so that you are seen, and also make sure that you unmute before you actually speak. Let me firstly say thank you to all of you, and I think you've all touched on a number of issues that relate to ethical behavior, both in business and in government, and the role of leaders in promoting ethical behavior, and how leaders, when they do not actually act ethically, have a significant impact on society, on government, and on the country as a whole. There's been a number of questions on the chat on the profession itself, the auditing profession, and where the auditing profession is, and the role of business in working with you, TSAKANI in particular, at the AG, and how we can help you bring business to the party in behaving ethically in its relationships with government. And perhaps what I could do is ask you how you would want to work with business organizations to assist in enabling best practice in the private sector in its interaction with government, and whether you have any thoughts as well on how the auditing profession can, for want of a better term, redeem itself after the problems it's been through in the last 5 years. TSAKANI?
Thanks, Kaz. Let me start with the profession, and you'll find that it's a similar comment I make when I deal with the role of business in the context of the work that we do. Within the profession, I think that the best way, I truly believe that the best way to deal with the reputational issues and the loss of confidence and trust that we have endured over the last 4 or 5 years is twofold. One is advocate for the right things and demonstrate a commitment to them and showcase people doing the right things. So if you've got auditors doing the right things and doing good, let's profile them. Let's show what the profession stands for, and let's keep talking about it and advocating for it. Because many of the problems, yes, they're important. Yes, they have a significant impact on the lives of people, but they do not overshadow the good work that is being done and can be done by the profession. So we've got to showcase that. The second thing is to discipline where it becomes necessary, and to do so quickly and to do so transparently and with good effect. So for me, it's those two things: advocate for the right things and demonstrate that the profession stands for the right things and show evidence of that. And the second thing is to discipline and sanction quickly and effectively and transparently where things have gone wrong. And I do believe that we're seeing the key leaders in the profession starting to do that. We might argue about the pace of it, but we're seeing that. And I think we need to continue on that journey. The second thing around the question you're asking, Kaz, on how can business work with the Office of the AG, but more importantly, work with the public sector in building ethical leadership, improving the levels of accountability and governance, improving the capability of key institutions in government. Two things once again. Let's make sure that we advocate for the right things within business circles so that people understand the rules, they understand what's expected of them, and that they are reminded about what's important and how we ought to engage with the public sector and not take advantage of weaknesses where we see them. Because at the end of the day, it has a direct impact on the sustainability of our own businesses, let alone other people's businesses. The second thing is let's sanction and do so transparently. We should be calling out people in business who do wrong. And we should be, and we know them, right? People within circles, business circles know each other and they know who's doing what. I think that we should be bold and call out bad behaviors and drive sanctions where that's required. We're seeing it in some instances. We just need to see more and more of that, because what it does is it drives corrective behavior, and people do change course when they see that there is no tolerance for bad behavior, and that rather the celebration of good behavior is what we want to focus on. I hope that helps. It's the same answer on both counts. It's advocate for the right things and demonstrate a real commitment to it. And then the second thing, sanction when people do wrong. Thanks, Kaz. Kaz, you're still on mute.
Busi, let me come to you. Thanks, TSAKANI. Thanks very much. You talked about capitalism with a conscience. Some talk about capitalism of a special type. I think we would all agree that capitalism is in crisis, not just in South Africa, but across the world. But we would also, I think most of us agree that we don't have the luxury to look at different economic systems. We need to work within what we've got. And make capitalism more humane and more adaptable and responsive to societal needs. What do you think are the critical role that business organizations can play in promoting capitalism of this type? And at the same time, ensuring that as we apply this type of capitalism, we behave in an ethical way.
Yes, thank you very much. I think in South Africa, this has been made easy for us. You know, when the government had empowerment policies and legislation that actually warrants that we observe, you know, empowerment and how we can actually usher in transformation into our organizations. And I think KGANKI spoke to this, and it's unfortunate that to this day, a lot of companies in the private sector have to be dragged kicking and screaming to actually comply with your BBBE legislation and with your EE legislation, you know, and with your affirmative action policies, you know, which shouldn't be so. Because let's agree that the reason why we want to, or that we have ushered in these policies, is so that we can normalize our society. You know, I think business is going to have to realize that what we have in the South African context is highly abnormal. You know, and unless and until we can get our country to a certain a notion or degree of normality, then unfortunately, you know, what we want to achieve in this country is not going to be achieved. Businesses in this country has got more responsibility, you know, than businesses in Europe, in Asia, and in the US to ensure that they do more in as far as the socio-economic transformation agenda is concerned. You know, we still have what the World Bank has termed an incomplete transition. You know, there is a lot that needs to be done from leveling the playing field, you know, from a business constituency. And the reason why I'm actually dragging business into this is because business is going to have to understand, Kes, that to whom that more is given, more is expected. And if we agree that business is the only social partner with disproportionate resources and maybe a disproportionate voice, then we probably need to use our disproportionality to ensure that we normalize our society. And unfortunately, we're sitting in an environment, you know, which is the most unequal society in the world. It doesn't make sense, Kes, because it means that as businesses, we are not going to be in a position to prosper, you know, because we're sitting with so many people without disposable income. And who are we going to be selling our products and our services to, you know, if the majority of the people don't have disposable income? So I think the more that we can do to actually ensure that we can actually usher in socio-economic transformation, then we are actually investing in our own future market. Because more people with disposable income means more people can buy our products and services. If more people can buy our products and services, then it means that we can actually, you know, grow, you know, as businesses. And if we can grow, then we can employ more people. And if we are employing more people, then there's more people that are less dependent on the fiscus. If there's less people that are dependent on the fiscus, you know, then it means that, you know, our tax base can grow. If our tax base can grow, then government can actually do more. And you know, I'm really explaining economics 101. So I think until and unless business can actually look and engage at the issue of social transfer, of socio-economic transformation, and of conscious capitalism from that perspective, then unfortunately, we are not going to achieve what we need to achieve. Thanks, Kes.
Thank you, Busi. Thanks very much. KGANKI, it's a question I was going to ask anyway, and I see it's also in the chat. It would be interesting, I think, for you as the CEO of the Black Business Council and representing Black business primarily in the country, to just comment on a view. And I don't agree with that view, but some people have the view that Black business is not taking a strong enough position on corruption and ethics and so on in positioning itself to lead transformation, in pushing transformation and so on. And do you think that there's a specific and special role for Black business to play in, as you push transformation, to also keep ethics and anti-corruption and so on top of mind? And what's the BBC, or what's your thinking on this sort of conundrum?
Yeah, I guess there's a narrative out there that anything corrupt is Black, which is not necessarily true. Corruption is a factor that is basically an exercise that is both is coming from both public and private sector. both black and white. We've seen it, I think, with the state capture. We've seen it with other issues like the PPEs, and we've been very vocal. For example, with the PPEs, that people abuse the systems, and as a result, because they get caught, they want to paint everyone else who has done things correctly as black and corrupt. For example, during the PPEs, some people in government decided to abuse the system by getting their friends who are not registered with SAPRA, not registered anywhere else, and when they got caught conveniently, they then say it's black business, which you have seen. I think in the Sunday Times we denounced it because it's not necessarily true. So we can do better. We can do more. I think we have to raise our voice more, and condemn anyone else who says black is corrupt, because it's not true. It's not true. It's never been true, and we have to say to actually talk more about it. And there are so many businesses that are ethical. There are so many business people. There are so many professionals who are black women, people living with disabilities, who are very, very ethical, and we have to promote them. We in our events we promote such people. We have events, for example, promoting people like Mteto Nyati, the founder of Batu, Dr. MATABANE, and so on, because we want to showcase a success by black people. I think that the other issue is the social and ethics committees of corporates. They should start doing their work much better, because the sustainability of democracy is intertwined with the implementation of economic transformation. Because if we don't do that, one day the people of Alex and the majority of people are going to wake up and say, we want to render this country ungovernable, because they feel like they have been excluded for so long. So it's important that we encourage AJEN and others to continue to bring a lot of people in the mainstream economy. Because, for example, if someone owns just to give an example, if someone owns an RDP house, if they get told that let's render the country ungovernable, they won't do it, because they fear they're going to lose their RDP house. But if someone does not even have an RDP house, and some radicals come and say, let's do this, they'll gladly do it, because they've got nothing to lose. So let's make sure that we have all the citizens of South Africa to own a portion of the economy, because that way will be protecting the sustainability of our constitutional democracy. So the Social and Ethics Committee needs to be strengthened so that they can raise and raise these questions very, very sharply. And the AG as well, I think we need to support the AG. We need to, when the reports come, I think we as the Black Business Council will come strongly in support of the AG to say, people are always saying when there's a expenditure that has not followed processes, that then is not wrong. But it is, because the reason why we've got laws and regulations in the country is for them to be implemented as they are. And then those who are not implementing those laws should be dealt with harshly. And then that way will be then promoting an ethical environment.
Thanks.
Thanks,
KGANKI. AJEN, question for you on what's our expectations from our professionals on their level of duty and care and diligence in both the public and private sector? Is the bar high enough? Are we insisting on the highest standards that we should be insisting on? And this also to a certain extent talks to again, redeeming the profession and so on. So just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks, Kaz. I would say just two parts to answering that. I mean, we would not be here today, you know, having this session on ethics if the bar was high enough, if professionals were actually living up to the standard and expectation of their various professions, whether it's accountants, auditors, lawyers, engineers. It actually cuts right across the board, again, public or private sector. I don't think we must make this exclusive to anyone's domain. It's actually all of us together. If you go to just keeping it simple, when we use the word professional and we describe someone else and we say that person is a true professional, what do we actually mean behind that word? We often mean that is a person that is values led. We mean that person is someone, you know, who's got a sense of vision, who serves a public interest, someone who acts in an unselfish manner. I mean, we don't describe people as, you know, that guy's a real professional because he's rich, because he's wealthy. We don't use words like that, and that's not what we intend to convey. So I don't think, you know, we're doing enough to live up to the spirit of what a true professional is. Which is why we've got ourselves in this crisis. Again, as a profession, as a country, irrespective of sector, this is this renewal that we actually need, and it's a global challenge. We also must accept that there's a lot more to be done globally. You ask about the profession itself, Cass, your second part of your question. You know, there's again no shortage of people who have presided over the post-mortem over the last 5 years. We've got to fix things like audit quality, concentration of the large firms, independence, their public interest role, you know, and a range of other things. I think we're all clear on those things. But I think what we're missing out of the conversation, which Busi, you know, was so eloquent on, which is describing this entire ecosystem. The profession is only one piece of it, the audit profession. We need to look at the corporate sector, we need to look at regulators, we need to see how all of this actually comes together. And I think not enough has been done in that space. You know, and when I look at companies today, and I said earlier, you know, financial reporting has become so complex that the truth is there's a small minority of people who actually understand what those financials are saying. What we don't have enough on is this focus on long-term value reporting. And long-term value is about companies talking about how are they impacting, you know, people, how they're impacting transformation, climate, society. What actually drives their resilience? I mean, most of the corporate collapses came as surprises because we don't know what's at the heart of the resilience of these companies. There's an arbitrary statement in these financials that says, you know, we are a going concern. Well, tell us why you're a going concern. What makes it a going concern? What have you got that we should know of that gives us comfort you're going to be around in 12 months' time? You know, these integrated reports are eloquent about the company's brand and reputation and strengths, but they say very little about the risks. And so we've got to do a lot more to actually think about this reporting framework and go beyond compliance, because compliance has moved us into a complexity space, and frankly, it's not useful anymore. Then we've also got to look at the regulators. You know, Kaz, I would say to you, we have got great regulators. We've got a regulator over the audit profession. We've got the exchange over listed companies. We've got the Prudential Authority, and the list goes on. But what we don't have is an effective system of, you know, coordination or cooperation amongst these regulators. We don't have an overall economic regulator, you know, whether it's a new entity or some level of collaboration, because we all see different pieces of the same thing. You know, as auditors, we see the risks in these companies. The exchange is seeing the short sellers and the trades going on. The Prudential Authority can see the money flow. And if you put these three things together, we're actually going to flush out all the wrongdoers in the market. But we're not doing that today. So I think we need to go beyond just individuals and looking at one part of the ecosystem. We need to actually talk more about how we bring the economy together. You'll be aware, Kaz, that the ministers announced a review panel on the audit profession. And frankly, we welcome it. It's one of the things that are going to move us forward. But I truly wish that it actually is a ministerial review on the economy, because fixing the audit profession on its own is not going to fix the economy.
Thanks, AJEN. Thanks very much. Folks, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you very much to the panelists and to the audience. We will look for opportunities to engage on these questions. I'm sure the organizers will do something about that. Let me just, before I hand over, also congratulate KOKO and Motlanalo on tremendous success. And it's from a BUSA point of view, KOKO, it's been great working with you and your team. Let me now hand over to Celine Dile Longwa from RMB to say a few words as a sponsor, and then she will hand back to KOKO. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Kaz. Firstly, I'd just really like to extend my gratitude to Motlanalo for affording us the opportunity to be part of this prestigious event. I've gained so much insight from the minds that have, come into this virtual room. For that, we really are grateful and looking forward to even more of these sessions. And also, once again, on behalf of FNB First Rand, RMB Private Bank, would like to really extend our congratulations to you, to your team, on your 4th year anniversary. We are so privileged to celebrate and be part of this milestone with you, and looking forward to many, many more years of great impact that you've done thus far. The theme today has really drawn me to once again say where we are right now as a business or corporates. How we do business has changed and has had to change. The reality is how we do business is not necessarily how we did it many years ago. As First Rand, we live and we die by ethics and good corporate governance, more so as money managers, because we understand that what we do requires trust as the anchor, the key anchor. And through that, we've put a specific focus for today's theme on the people element of things. So today, as First Rand, we define people as our staff, our customers, and the society that we serve. And in that, we've continued to say it's no longer about our wallets. It's no longer about just the share price. It's no longer about what we gain, but more answering the question on how we have a lasting and sustainable impact on people. And over the years, we've come to understand that we need leaders for change. And these future leaders require access to quality education. These future leaders need support of corporates like ourselves. They need financial support. They need us to be there and invest in their future and in their education. And we've done this through the backing of the First Rand Trust and some great SPIRE initiatives that have been able to support these future leaders, from early childhood development through supporting the ECDs. We've continued to support these future leaders through the higher learning levels and through other many programs, because we are questing and we want to contribute to the sustainability as a business. There's been other great initiatives through volunteering activities, which we are truly proud of. But more than anything else, it's more to say, how do we further contribute? How do we further invest? How do we further support these future leaders of change, as many of us have mentioned? Within the RMB leg of First Rand, we do look after high net worth clients because we believe these are the clients that have that impact. We believe that these clients require solutionist thinkers. We believe that through diversified, investment advisors and all of these things, whether it is offshore, diversified, or fiduciary solutions, they are able to come back and have that impact they're able to come back and contribute to the change, to the quest that you have of creating a lasting and sustainable impact on people. So we'd really like to extend our gratitude for being once again part of this event. And more than that, we'd like an opportunity to spend more time in your own businesses and join you maybe at your next Stratco Extra sessions. So please do feel free to connect with me. Feel free to reach out so how we can also be able to have that lasting impact and contribute in your business areas. So thank you so much. And once again, congratulations to the team, the organizers, Motlanalo and team. Really, it's been a privilege to be part of this session. Thank you very much.
Thanks to all panelists and all of you for having made time to join us. We are at the end of the session, and the message to me is clear. We all have a voice. Let's make sure that we use it for the betterment of South Africa. Once again, thank you to our clients, to our staff, to all of you for joining this session this morning, and to my fellow panelists, especially that all of you are accountants. Let's play the role that was clear from AGSA and impact how things have been done and not be part of what's been found wanting in the supply chain management of Auditor-General South Africa. Ke a leboga. Enjoy your day further. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.